Let's normalise deep conversations that don't need to be heavy. Surface level was so 5 years ago, so grab a cuppa, get comfy and let's chat. Tea Talk with Chelsea. Hello everybody, so I'm Chelsea and today on Tea Talk we will be speaking with Alexa. So we've got our teas or our drinks or whatever it is, and we're just here to normalise beautiful conversations with everyday people that know things about life or learn things consistently about life. So we're here and we're ready. Yay! So firstly, can you please just introduce yourself to us and just just a little bit about yourself would be nice to hear.
My name is Alexa. How do I introduce myself? I basically I like to say that I'm a self-development freak. Literally it's my passion. It's everything that I think about, self-development. It's everything that I grew up talking about without even knowing what it was. The things I focus and obsess over, right now I'm obsessed with learning how money works, the concept of it, learning time, learning manifestation and the magic of the world. So yeah, that's pretty much what I talk about all day. That's what I think about all day. So and I like to help people who want to do the same. I'm 26 years old. I live in the States, and oh my gosh, I'm actually turned 26 in 3 weeks. So
I do this as well. I'll say I'm 29 or whatever, the next stage is, if it's a couple of weeks off.
Yeah, exactly. I'm already embodying it. It's fine.
Exactly. Well, there is this concept that when you turn your birth age, you're actually celebrating the year prior. So when you turn 26, you're celebrating your 26th year that you've just lived, because you don't have a first birthday when you're first born. You have it when you have lived 1 year. So that you technically are. You're celebrating 26 year right now. So, when you turn 26 from that day onwards, you're celebrating your 27th year. So that's cool.
Love that. Yeah, it's I feel I don't know, because I know you're 28, correct?
Yes.
So I'm curious if you have this experience. I feel the 26th year, right? Turning 25, is the have how some people are oh, you turned this age, do you feel any different? And the answer is no, I feel the exact same. Yeah. I feel it's different for 25.
Mm-hmm.
There's a shift, and it was literally the day after I turned 25 where I just felt this immense a whole switch turned off, and I became, I want to say, calm.
Yeah.
Did you have that experience too?
In a different way, but I get exactly what you're saying. When I turned 25, let me just get this right. Yes. When I turned 25, I was pregnant and I was about to have a baby in a month's time. So I was shifting from this going out drinking, aware, but still people pleasing and still in that state, to, I don't know if the having the baby made me go into a different state or was just the catalyst to switch over. But from when my daughter was born, pretty much turning 25, I then started to look way more into personal development and wanting to be better and do better and all of the things. So I still grew up in sort of aware, I was aware and spiritual around those sorts of things. But yeah, when I hit 25, I had a baby, when I was 20, when I hit 25. So it was that catalyst to switching. So I really get what you're saying, because that was when I started reaching out and investing in myself and my growth and my healing, and that was it. So that would be interesting to know, people who are listening to this, if you felt the same way, just put it in the comments or wherever. Just, did you feel a shift when you hit the 25 mark? Or 24, 25, around that sort of age, because it would be interesting to know from a scientific perspective. Is that a thing, or is that just us?
I know, right? No, that, I feel that's definitely a thing. There's got to be something to do with age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's a quarter of your life, right?
Yeah.
So
Like
maybe
a
it has to do.
brain, something to with your brain, like at that age, or
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, I think your brain is actually fully developed
yeah,
when you hit 25. Okay, so everything's making sense now. Your brain probably literally clicks.
your brain
And
is
I
like, yep, you're ready now. Like,
yeah, exactly. Which is so interesting. But yeah, I know that like whoever you are by the time you're 25, it's like you'll always be that person.
yeah,
And then from there, like you are able, and this is not scientific, so do not quote me on this, but from there, that's when yeah, I guess you get to, I don't know, figure out what else you want to do or
yeah.
who else, but it's like harder to rewire all that.
Yeah. So like by the time you're 25, you've sort of conditioned yourself, or you've been part of conditioning and thing that's around you. So I guess from 25, it's like that point where now you're trying to like unlearn and relearn and shift into your your soul, like being of who you are. That's how I sort of see it as well. And you will always be the person. I get what you're saying. I understand you've got these learnings, but I think from that point it's like those learnings are now going to impact what you do next, like how you shift and change and identify and like all of those sorts of things. That's quite an interesting one. Again, would be cool to see what other people think, like, because
Yeah.
I feel like we can always change and shift because when it was last year, an ex of mine, we were still, quite good friends, and he said something to me like, "Oh, you would never." I said something to him, and then he goes, "Oh, you would never have said that when you were 17 or 18, you would never have usually thought like that. Like you've changed so much, da da da." And I don't know if it was a negative thing that he was saying or a positive. I didn't know what energy it was coming from, but just that comment to me, like, "Oh, you've changed," and that to me, I was actually proud. Like I was proud. Like, yeah, I have. Like, thank you for noticing. Like,
Yeah.
like whether that's a negative or a positive, like thank you. Because it's one of those things that people think they need to like, oh, this is how I've always been, so this is all I'm gonna do, like that sort of energy. And that's what keeps you stuck if you think that you need to stay exactly the same, but you can't move forward without change, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, my brain immediately goes to like people who stay in their hometowns. And maybe this isn't the case for everyone, but when you stay around the exact same people,
Yeah.
the same area, the same job, the same everything, like you are not as able to change because your identity is there. So,
Mm.
like, people who do leave their hometowns can definitely resonate when you've left and then when you come back you're like, wait, what? Like, well, wait, no, this isn't me anymore. And it's literally because yeah, you stepped outside of that identity and you went somewhere where you didn't have an identity.
Yeah.
So it became, you had this like free this open canvas and you could paint whatever you wanted for your life.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing when it comes to like traveling and stuff. I feel like the reason why people travel is to find themselves. And this is kind of going on a different tangent, but I think that's where it roots from, is because the identity that we're in, the place that we're in, doesn't feel right. And we don't know how to get out of it. So we go somewhere else that has a different culture, that has a different terrain, to see what that's like, to see what we can, if we can fit into that glove, but it's a beautiful journey when you realize when you travel to and from that you have your own glove. You get to put your own glove on.
Yeah.
Um,
Because there's an interesting thing about what you were just saying, and as you were speaking, it sort of sparked something in my mind, which was we consider it running if we are struggling or not feeling um ourselves or whatever, like if we're staying in a place and then we all of a sudden go traveling, or we go to another city to live, or we go somewhere else, like it's usually considered running, like you're running away from whatever, the stuff that was happening. And well, for us over here anyway, that's all I've heard about different things that I've done. And so it's that's like sort of shifted my mind about that a little bit. Like, was I running, or was I creating a change in my life? Because, like we speak on, if you stay stuck and you stay around the same people, you're not going to see something different. You're not going to create a new result. You're not going to, if you keep doing the same thing, it's just the same pattern, the same habit that you're staying stuck in, and you're not moving forward. So you need to create a change, or you need to do something different to be able to get out of that comfort zone, to be able to learn, to grow, to, all of those things. So that's, yeah, I'm not, again, like I haven't studied any of that. Oh, it's just a thought that came to my mind. Like we always say, oh, you're just running away from your problems by doing this. And sometimes that is the case. Like people just go here and here and here and don't face what it is that they're struggling with. But if you allow the traveling or the moving out of your hometown as an opportunity to change and to create a new destiny or result, or whatever, take that opportunity and be aware that that's what you're doing. Like if you want to go away, that's cool. If you want to go traveling or move to another town, that's okay, but just don't do it without being aware of what's happening and why you're doing that.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
definitely say like having the intention behind your travels, like going with intention. Like don't, I think that pertains to like life, having intention with pretty much everything.
yeah,
I was gonna I was gonna bring up, I remember because I would travel a lot, like for 2 years of my life, like I wasn't like stable or I didn't stay in one spot. And I remember the last time I moved from somewhere, and the person I was saying bye to, we were like crying, and it was like beautiful little moment. And they said, I hope you find what you're looking for. And I was like people had said that to me before, but when she said that to me, I was like, what am I looking for? And I just want to, I guess I wanted to bring that up because it makes sense. Like I was looking for me,
yeah.
right? I was looking for love. I was looking for like whatever, who I wanted to be. Yeah, I think I don't remember exactly what sparked that, but I wanted to share that.
That
'Cause-
definitely makes sense. Like because I hope you find what you're looking for, and it's always the case that we're looking for ourselves, like we're searching. That's what this life is about, right? Like whether you're different religions or whatever, I feel like it all links back to your inner knowing, your inner God, your inner being, your inner soul, your whoever, like however you um perceive it as, or call it to be, like God, universe, authentic self, like all of those things. I feel like it's that inner being, or who you were when you were first born. Like when you were born, you're literally this most pure self. You already know, like you've already got this knowing. And I think it was in the podcast that we both recently listened to, and I'm pretty sure, I think it was that one where he said um you're like obviously so pure, like when you're first born, and you already have this knowing. And now my mind's gone blank. You've got this knowing. I'm gonna need a pause, like, and then I'll just edit this one out.
Yeah.
You must have said something. Okay, clearly that's not meant to be. Oh my god, why has my mind gone blank? He said
We were
something.
talking about like finding yourself, and that's truly like what we're looking for is like ourselves.
Yes, finding ourselves. Okay, give me 1 minute.
You good? It'll come.
Yes, ourselves. You're a baby. Oh, so it's like around when you're a baby, and so many. He was speaking around happiness, and so many people want to be happy or want to be this and that. And when you're a baby, so many people gravitate towards the baby. Like they want to be around the baby, and because the baby just has this inner joy, this inner happiness, this inner like purity of just love, and like there's nothing that they're conditioned to at that point. Like they're just this pure form of happiness and joy. And it's
Mhm.
like that's the inner knowing and the inner peace. But then life happens and conditioning happens and environments and surroundings happen. Hence why our whole lives, it's this journey of trying to get back to when we first started in this lifetime. So it's that like I'm trying to be back there, right?
Whoa, yeah. Okay. I love that. I so full transparency, I got 40 minutes into the podcast and it's amazing. The one we're talking about. And then I was gonna listen to it on my walk, and then my boyfriend was gonna listen to it with me. So I just started it over. So I was like, okay, it's not meant to be that like you finished the podcast before this, but so I wanted to share that, admit that. But I absolutely love that. I think and I trust that we're definitely here to learn lessons. Like we are all cosmic beings, that we're all one energy that is here to like learn lessons over and over and over again. And the things that happen to us are the things that are helping us learn those lessons that we need. And so it's so cool that the journey, I've literally never thought about that. The journey is to get back to that original pure piece of consciousness. I love that so much. It's crazy.
Said that, like, because I've heard it, like, I've heard from people that I've been surrounded by, it is getting back to your inner knowing and things like that. But like when he Mo spoke about it in that way of that inner peace, that inner joy, just the way that he said it is like just hit for me, and I was like, oh wow, that's so beautiful. Like I get that, I understand that. um and for anyone that's listening and wants to watch a podcast or listen to a podcast, that podcast for me is like the best thing I've ever listened to in a very long time, like that I can even remember. And it's called The Diary of a CEO from Stephen Bartlett, and it's the episode 101 with Mo Gauda, however you say his name. um
Right.
and and yeah, it's around happiness, and mind blowing, like every sort of turn, everything he says, it's just like whoa, like that's so interesting. And yeah, like what's from what you have listened to of it, what is something that you sort of take away from it? Because yeah, for me the
Mm.
whole thing was like, oh, I love this.
Oh man, so many things.
Mm,
I nothing's coming to mind, but I remember you saying the part about the rain. When he
yeah,
talks about the rain, that's when I was like, "Oh my God." And so this is like slightly floating my ego a little bit, but I was listening to it and I was like, "I already knew this."
yeah, yeah,
I was like, "Wow." Like so proud of myself. But what's so cool, and nobody's said it before,
yeah.
to maybe they have. Maybe they have, because it could have not just came out of my own damn brain, but I just never heard it the way he said it, and I loved the way he said it. But basically, what I used to say to everyone, what I still say to everyone is like, the reason, like, why you're mad is because you think something should be
Yes,
anything other than what it is. And so I constantly am telling myself, like, no, it shouldn't be any other way. Like, this is perfect. This is all happening perfectly the way that it needs to. And so that shifted. And like, now I have this wonderful habit of shifting things happening to me. And now they're happening for me. And I just, yeah, I think that was like, that floated my ego. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to tell Chelsea about that. Because you brought it up.
yeah, I love that. Like, and girl, just be that ego, right now, because
Yeah.
that's just showing that you have grown and you've learned and you understand and you comprehend, like you're aware, and that's really beautiful. So for the people that haven't listened to the podcast, he explains it that around like the key to happiness, or how to become happy. And it's basically that there's a bit of an equation, but he perceives it to be that he knows it to be, and it makes bloody sense, really, that, imagine the rain is coming down, and you create a story, or you perceive that rain to be either negative or positive. So you get angry at the rain. Oh, it's, crap weather because now I can't go outside for a walk, or to go to the beach, or to do whatever, have my party outside that I wanted. And you perceive that rain to be so negative, and that's your story you're telling yourself. But the farmer, with the crops and the plants, or if you've got plants outside that need to be watered, you perceive the rain to be a beautiful, positive thing, because the story that you're telling yourself is, this is so beautiful because it is going to do this for me. And it's going to, water my plants, or whatever it is, wash my house outside and get all the cobwebs off, or, like those types of things. But in order to be happy, it's basically our perception minus the expectation that it is. So it's the expectation that this needs to do something for me to be able to be happy. Otherwise, if it's doing the opposite, it's shit, or it's going to be make me upset or whatever. But what's quite interesting for me is that recently I just went to a beautiful weekend in Taupo in New Zealand with my other business partners, and it was raining. It was pouring down with rain, and I had listened to this podcast on the way there again, I think it was, because I'd listened to it the other day, and I was listening to it on the way there again, so I could do the same as you, like sort of re-listen and start again. And it was pouring down with rain, and we had organized like this scenic boat tour that we were going to go on to see the Maori carvings like on the rocks, and that would have been beautiful, like don't get me wrong, but we cancelled it because we got a like tsunami warning or something, like don't get in boats, and we were like, okay, we won't. And so then what ended up happening was that we went to the golf range, and we got some cool content shots because it was undercover. And then we went back home, got some food, and went to the supermarket and stuff, and then went back home, and we sat down and had a really intentional conversation about blocks that are happening within our business. And it just opened up this like 3-hour space of, like all of us connecting as men and women together. And then there was time for like the men and women to separate if that's what they wanted to do. And that's just what sort of happened, separate into their own understanding, because, men understand what men understand about themselves and for them, and women understand what they need. And so it was beautiful that we had this like, hour and a half of space with all of us as a collective, unlocking these blocks and people sharing whatever they felt like in that, space, and being vulnerable and everything. And then we were able to separate, and even more, like it just expanded even more, because we were aligning and talking to people who get it, who understand us. And there were so many breakthroughs. There were so many like, things going like this for people. And like I'm getting like goosebumps, like talking about it, because it just, like we perceive the rain as like, oh, this is so shit because, like it's pouring down with rain and we can't do what it is we wanted to do, and it's created bad weather and da da da. But it actually created something even more beautiful than what that would have been. Like I would love to go and see those beautiful Maori carvings, like, on the rocks. But the beautiful thing that happened was in our whare, like in the house, that, like it was just a moment that now we are all so grateful for that moment. Like no one is saying, I hated that moment, it was so shit. We're literally leaving that moment being like, I'm so grateful that that conversation happened because it unlocked this in me. So it just like, that's a perfect example of your expectation of what the situation is. It's not the fact that I'm gonna, if I go buy a Range Rover, like, it's not that that's going to make me happy. Like, it's that minus my expectation. And, or it's not going to make me happy if my friend messages me and says, you're the best friend in the whole wide world. Like that, having a friend, knowing that I have somebody to reach out to if I need to, is what I need to be grateful for. It's not the fact that they're going to message me 50 times a week. Like, that's my expectation of that friend. And I can only speak on that because I've had that, with friends before, where I've been like, oh, I need to have all these friends, and people need to message me more, and I always make the effort, or I don't make enough effort because they don't make it, like, there's all these different stories that you tell yourself, but it's like, it's the expectation, like, and we all know this, we all know, like, we have an expectation of people, but when we release that, we release the disappointment, and we just see the beauty in whatever they do provide for us or they do give to us. And if we're too busy worried about whatever the story is that we're telling ourselves, we're missing out on what can come from that experience, or, like, and what we can find within ourselves, So yeah, that for me was like, same as you. It wasn't a, I didn't know this. It was a, shit, the way that you've just put that has just like expanded my awareness and my understanding of how that happens, or how that looks. So, oh, like, I could talk about that for days.
I know it's a good concept because everybody thinks that way. Like we grow up a certain way. We are taught a certain way. We are shown a certain way. So we expect things to go certain ways, and the older we get, the more jaded we become. Hopefully not, but like the older we get, the more we expect. And that's pretty much what he's saying. Like, don't have any expectations whatsoever.
Yeah.
Another really big thing that I learned from that podcast, or like a concept or something that like really kind of changed me in the way that he worded things, is, and I'm going to pertain it to what we just talked about, which was rain, which, like, think about how many people say, or how many times you say, oh, it's icky outside. It's nasty outside. Like, let's stay in. It's nasty outside. Like, what? Why is it nasty? Because it's raining. Why does rain make it nasty? Like, it's beautiful. And then also, my sister has always taught me, and she's very like biblical, very biblical. And the way she says things, sometimes it like clicks with me because I'm more on the spiritual side. And she says, water purifies. Like, the rain comes down to purify, to clean. It cleans the roads, it cleans the cobwebs, like you said. So it's like, yeah, staying inside and taking that purifying time to purify yourself. And that kind of goes back with intention.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
And then going into what, like, a concept that he really helped me think about was the fact that nature is not perfect.
Yes.
And nature is not, it's chaotic, and we don't expect it to be anything other than chaotic, because that's what it is. Like, we don't know when it's actually going to rain. Science helps us predict, but we have no freaking clue. And also realizing that nature never makes a straight line.
Mm-hmm.
You will never see a straight line in nature.
Yeah.
So we make those straight lines.
Yeah.
Like, it's trendy, it's popular, it's aesthetic to see like classy straight lines. I worked in a restaurant where like everything had to be straight, and it was literally for Instagram. It was literally for aesthetic purposes, which is so smart.
Yeah.
But being in that space, it's like, this is so unnatural. Mm-hmm. And like, math and straight lines, they help us, they keep us in enclosed homes, and they make us safe. Like the pyramids, that was math. You needed straight lines for the pyramids.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong, straight lines are great, but it's not natural. And so we grow up in a society where we have control. Like, have you ever even considered, and it was our mutual friend Taylor Ray that shocked me when she said she came back from Bali, Indonesia, and she had reverse culture shock. And she looked out at her neighborhood and she was like, why is all the grass one length? Why do we have planted trees in front of our homes? And I was like, what? I've never thought about that.
I've never thought that. Taylor, you're
Me,
on.
yeah, get Taylor on here. She's magical, truly magical. Um, yeah, she always expands me every time we have a conversation. But it was shocking. Like, we literally cut our grass to a very specific length for our convenience so that it's not in our way. And we put trees in front of our house because it's pretty, it's attractive, it's a little bit of nature, right?
Wow.
um yeah.
I've
When
like
it
not
doesn't
thought that at all because yeah, like he says in the podcast, you, like you're saying, there's no straight lines in nature. Like nature, there's imperfections everywhere,
happen.
but we think that's beautiful. Like we are never worried in nature. Like obviously if a tiger or whatever came running up to us, like, you know, our instinct, you know, everything would just kick in. But I'm more meaning like we go to nature to feel peace, to feel calm.
Mm,
And we are feeling peace and calm in a space that doesn't look perfect, like everything's rigid and got, bark and dirt and everything's there, bugs and things like that. But that's where majority of people find their peace. And same with how he said, like when you go to the ocean and you take it for as it is. You don't go to the ocean and say, oh, can I just look at the view and mute the sound? You can't mute the sound, and you can't mute the sound. So you go to the ocean and you're at peace with what it is, like how it shows up, its authentic self. Like the ocean and the environment is nothing but itself. And that's
yeah.
where we find so much peace. But we try so hard to create a perfect thing, life or a thing of what we think ourselves are or should be. But it's just, we don't need to be perfect. Like imperfect is beautiful. And like
Yeah.
you're talking about, there's so much conditioning in this world that is just hurt, like it's hurtful to society. And obviously there needs to be, law of polarity with the good and the bad. There needs to be that balance, the yin and the yang. But we obviously don't learn the good without being in that, negative energy or negative space. And but
Yeah,
also,
it's all for us.
yeah,
Right.
so like in Happy Pocket Full of Money, they speak on that story where nothing's good or bad, it just is. It's
Mm,
just it, like you're talking about, it happens for you, not to you. So people that are, going through life and they're having so many challenges or things that are happening, the reason why things continue to happen is because you're doing the same thing. And so you're not changing or switching to create a different result or to create a different reality. And I could speak on this for days, but we create our own reality. We create what is happening. Everything that has happened in our lives, we've manifested ourselves, whether we knew it or we didn't know it. It's like when you say Murphy's Law and, all of that sort of stuff. Like that's because you're thinking, oh, this, three bad things are going to happen because there has to be a third bad thing that happens. Like, okay, well, universe is like, cool, I'll make three bad, or God or whatever, I'll make three bad things happen then. And it's just being in that understanding that you're creating your reality. So if you continue on this path, that's the path you're going to take, then okay, well, this is your result. But if you're like,
mm,
oh, I'll just try this bit and it's just a slight little shift here, then this is the path you're going to take. And then, oh, maybe this part, and then here, oh, this part, like it's just changing to create whatever it is that you want. And it's beautiful either way. Like there's peace in that, there's joy in that, there's happiness in that, because you're following this imperfect line of a zigzag rather than that straight line. Like I just came up with that. Like
I love what you just did there. Oh my gosh.
it's just,
Wow.
yeah, what we just spoke on, like that, it being imperfect. Like this is perfect in itself because it's imperfect. Like it's just, yeah, some things that we all need to ponder on, and we all need to realize. Like think about
Mhm.
nature and create nature in your everyday life.
In here.
Yeah, yeah.
Like in here, like understanding, like you just said, like it's not supposed to be a straight line. Who makes the straight line?
Mm-hmm.
People. People are making the straight line. You are taught the straight line. You're taught to go to school. You're taught to go get a husband and have a baby and get a job, or in whatever order. And then you're happy, we listen to that because we don't know any better, because it's the norm to go that straight line and to not change, because yeah, society. And I could go on tangents there. And like, yeah, and in that same context, like society is made for us. Like everything is made for us to grow and to be alive and to eat. And it's all like amazing. And the ways that it's done, there are some ways that it's done that's not with a good intention. And that's the trajectory that I think society has been on for like years and years and years without knowing. I don't know if this is making sense, but this is not my point. But that's basically it. We are taught to go that straight line, and so no wonder we're unhappy when we finish that straight line, because we're not meant to do that. Just like nature, we are meant to squiggle and mess up and go here and go there and try something new at a different stage of life, and then uproot that and then try something new. Like that was pretty much it.
Something that I was just thinking as you were talking was, do you think, you know how lots of things come from trauma, like everything, pretty much every action that people take or ways that people respond comes from a trauma, like from their childhood. That, everything links back to a trauma. Do you think that society was, like the world was created from different traumas that people are trying to chase or trying to fix or trying to, yeah,
100%. Yes.
they want more
I
connection,
have
or, like,
I have heard this twice now, and I believe it. So it's definitely not my thought. One was from Manifestation Babe, Catherine Zinkina, and she said we're a bunch of traumatized 7-year-olds running around,
yeah,
like all of us, because we are fully conscious by 7. Everything that we learn by 7 is like
yeah,
whatever. We are walking consciousness until we're 7, and then 7 we're like, okay, we're humans. If that made sense.
yeah.
But yeah, like big leaders who have done horrible things, who have affected, like they're all human. They're all just like me and you, but they have their traumas, and so they act on their traumas from their traumas because they haven't been worked through.
Mm.
um there are good leaders out there, but
They
yeah,
still,
I'm
they probably still
gone.
have their trauma though in a different way. They probably, like, leaders that do what we would perceive as negative or bad or horrible things are acting in a negative sense from a trauma, whereas the positive, more, uplifting leaders are probably acting from their trauma in a more positive light. Like everyone's acting from their trauma, whether that's
Mm,
trying to please other people, or whether that's, putting people down, or doing lots of things for everybody because that's a trauma that you had to do. Like Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before, but it's just something that as you were speaking, like, maybe the phone was created because the person that wanted to create the phone was lacking a connection with themselves and was seeking it in other people. And, oh, I need to create the phone to make, like to create that connection with other people. Like, oh, now I
So
want to see more people. So I'm going to create the video calling on the phone, or, I love it. It's happened and it's beautiful because we get to connect. Like, I'm grateful for that circumstance for that reason, but maybe we're all acting out of, well, yeah, like acting out of a trauma response with everything that we do. Oh my God, my whole world has like shifted from
I love that.
session. Wow. Oh my God, I love that. That's so beautiful. Um,
Yeah.
so I have three questions that
Mm.
well, technically four. I have four questions that I would love to ask you, and I ask the same, except for the last one. I ask the same question, three questions every time when people come on. So the
Mhm.
first one is, what is one thing you would say to your younger self?
I've done a lot of inner child work, and the one thing that always comes up is, okay, are you talking advice?
Anything, like anything that comes straight to your mind, like anything that if you saw your younger self and was able to have a conversation with them, what is like one thing that you would say to them or something?
All right. I always say, I'm sorry that we have not had enough fun.
Yes.
Let's have fun. Because I have, for too many years, taken things way too seriously. And I still do it. I still sit here and I'm like this all day. Maybe, okay, maybe not anymore, but yeah, I neglect the fun. And it's a practice to go out and do that and play. Like I was walking a second ago. That's why I was late to our call. That was a little play. But yeah, just not take things so seriously.
That's like that like made me feel emotional. Like I felt emotional, and it's because I need to do that too. Like I need to play more. I'm way too serious. It's okay to be serious. Like there's times and places for that, but we look at children in New Zealand, like up until the age of 6, they can be in daycare or kindy, which is where there's no homework and tasks that need to be done. Like literally their whole day is play and creativity and excitement and just play,
Love
like
that.
have fun and play. And then you go to school, and then okay, you got to sit down and listen to what they're saying and do what they're telling you to do. And like it starts from school, like where it's like, okay, this is how the world is now. Whereas when you're in kindy or daycare, or whatever it is for you over there in the States, like
Pretty much that.
yes, it's that fun play that's encouraged. Like play is the biggest, it's proven like that's how children learn, through play. And so the curriculum for early childhood education over here before they go to school is based around play, like play based activities. It's not like they learn through play, they creative in play, they learn math and skills and things like that when you're in the sandpit and you're pouring, and oh, this much goes into here, and those sorts of things is how we learn. And so people who homeschool their children and teach them real world things are looked down upon because that's not the right way to do it, or you're crazy, or your kids are weird, or whatever. Like that's the perception that I had growing up of people who were homeschooled because of what other people said. I just took on what they said about those people. But knowing this, it really drives me to want to homeschool my children or put them in a energy or type of schooling that's um, based around play and fun. Like I don't want them to have to go to real school and me have to continue to do the unlearning of what they learn when they go there every day. So it's that unlearning of that schooling years and just have fun always. Like, yeah, that's, thank you for bringing that up because that's really beautiful.
Of
Um,
course.
what is one thing that you're so proud of yourself for?
Hmm. My my mindset and the growth that the amount of growth that I've had on my own.
Mhm.
There's a little pride there, but yeah, I think the perspective that I have, I think is special. And I know other people have their own beautiful special perspectives, but I've figured it out on my own. And it just shows the power that I have, and it shows how powerful I can be if I reach out to others.
Yeah, that's a word that keeps coming out to me is like lately I keep saying that's so powerful. Like I'm seeing more from a what I probably used to perceive as circumstance or a conversation or an activity or an experience. I would just, see it as, oh, that just happened. But now I can like feel it and I can see it and it's, oh, that's powerful. Like what we're now, like this is powerful because we're not only providing value for others, but we're continuing to get our minds thinking and having these conversations, which are powerful in itself. And then we're able to put it out there. The fact we can put it out there to the world and billions of people have the ability to see this, like that's powerful, like there's so many things that are so powerful and we forget that that's us too. So that's really beautiful that you've said that about yourself. I love that.
That I'm so complimented right now.
So before I ask you the fourth question, that's a special one. Um, I sort of do this, I ask this question to sort of, because we've had, well, heavy for some people, a type of conversation that could be perceived as heavy or I don't want to make it that, but it was a beautiful conversation and I love it. I like to just add a little bit of fun in there.
Love
So,
that.
what is your favorite ice cream?
Coffee.
Really? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
I love the flavor of coffee.
Oh, I love that because I've not like I don't drink coffee. So and because it's like quite bitter. So is that ice cream quite bitter?
Yeah.
Right.
No, I mean, I guess you might get a little bit of bitter, but not really. No, it tastes like a delicious, cold, sweet latte.
Oh,
Lovely. Freaking lovely.
I love that. And so now what I have done is let me get the last question. Um, okay. So for my I've had one of these calls prior to you, so I didn't get to ask them the question because they were the first person, but I've learned this from the podcast that we listened to, and I thought it was such a powerful thing to do. And that was getting the person from the previous podcast. They don't know who the next person is going to be. And getting, or not, not podcast, sorry, the previous conversation that I've had in this tea talk space is, and get them to write down a question for me to ask the next person that comes on. And this blows my mind and it's actually making me like get emotional again. The question is, what's one of your most fun memories as a child? That to me is my like we were just speaking and like because I didn't, I just sort of didn't even read it when they sent it. I was like, okay, thank you, and I just moved on and wasn't even thinking about that when you brought that up. So,
Oh my gosh.
so what
Divine.
I know. So what is one of your most fun memories as a child?
Hmm. So I don't actually have many memories from childhood. I don't know why. Trauma,
Yeah.
maybe. Love that. So my one of my favorite memories was I was always friends with like the kids in the neighborhood. And
Mm,
it didn't matter what their age was. They could be like, I would be 8 and they would be 12
yeah.
or 6. So running around the neighborhood on somebody's on a bike, somebody's running, somebody's, I don't know, I guess one person's on a bike and just walking around. We like go to each other's houses, we're just hanging out. So yeah, I think that was one of my favorite.
I love that because that brings up the point of there is no concept of time when you're young. Like, yes, you're
Mm,
told, oh, you need to be home by this time, or you're not. Like it's either way. But when you're in that moment, you're genuinely like there with your friends, talking
mm,
about whatever it is that you're talking about, to whatever age, to whatever, like there's no concept
mm.
of time, or there's no worry, like you're just in it, having fun with those people. And I think we need more of that. Hence why, like we're searching for the beginning, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that was beautiful. You just shocked me. I think that's kind of what I'm needing right now. I needed to hear that
Yeah.
because I was talking to another mutual friend of ours, Charlotte, and she was saying, normally what you did as a child is something that's gonna like bring out more play, right? And she was like, did you used to like climb on trees when you were younger? And I was like, no, I mean, yeah, but like, no, that's not really like what I did. I was like, I would hang out with like my neighbors. And she was like, oh, well, maybe it's community.
Mm.
And now with now with what was just said and us like trying to find what made us happy back then, it's like it's community. It's going out and playing and being with my neighbors or whoever and not caring about the concept of time and not caring about their age or their experience or anything. Not having expectations. Like that is so cool.
I love that.
Yeah, so I encourage all your listeners to figure out what your favorite memory or one of your favorite memories as a kid is and recreate that today with what you have.
Oh. This is literally why I do this, because so many people are going through life like so unhappy and so like just, yeah, unhappy, and it saddens me. And yes, we need to have the good with the bad to learn from, the experiences, to then grow and all of that. But like we need more fun and we need play, and it just makes me like so happy. Like this is just confirmation that me doing this is needed. Like it is what I need to do, and needed for other people, and needed for myself, and for you, and for anyone who comes on here. Like that's so beautiful. So I'm so thankful.
I am too. I just had a big breakthrough, so I so appreciate this.
Love that. Well, for anyone listening, thank you for everyone that's listening, thank you so much for being in this space with us and just listening to us have a talk. And whether you're here at the end or you're listening to it, a couple of days later because you've got to listen to it in parts, like that's too. And just the fact that you're still here is amazing. And just if you take anything from this, remember that nature is imperfect, but it's beautiful, and you can be too. And we can be ourselves in fun and in play, and we don't need to be what society has conditioned us into being, because remember, society was created from trauma. That's what happened. Like, so just, yeah,
Gold.
start to shift that perspective for yourself. So I'm so grateful for everyone that's here. Thank you so much, Alexa, for coming on to this space and just being with
Nice.
us and giving us your knowledge and having these breakthroughs on this call. Like that just shows everyone that this is the importance, like everyone that speaks, no matter what level or stage they're at of their growth, like you're always going to have breakthroughs, whether it's now, whether it's in 2 weeks time, you might remember something we've said. So I really encourage that you come back, let me know, like anyone that's had a breakthrough, come back and let me know, because I would love to just hear what's happened for everyone from this conversation. So thank you so much, Lex. Oh.
Thank you. Love you so much.
Comment one takeaway below and share on your social media. Don't forget to tag me. Love you.